Can I ask you about what happened last night in Buffalo? And I know Lambeau, frozen tundra, there's a lot of terrible games, but 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. The Patriots decide, hey, we're just going to run the rock. Mac Jones is only going to throw it 3 times. Josh Allen threw it 30 times. He was 15 to 30. Terrible day. I don't think anybody was expecting any of the quarterbacks to have success. This morning, a narrative has been made that the Patriots don't need Mac Jones. They can win without him. Is that not just absurd in the world that we live in, that they can find something like that, especially with the 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts? And have you ever played in anything like that?
Well, Pat, I don't want you to be a little hypocritical. You do have a segment on your show called Overreaction Monday, don't you?
Well, it's a whole day. Yeah, it's not just a segment. Yeah.
Okay.
We got lazy.
Well, that's what they're going to do. It was Overreaction Tuesday, obviously, today. I think Max had a great season. I just think that their thinking was, if we have an advantage running the football, then let's keep running the football. His first pass, as you saw, the wind looked like it was blowing from looked like Buffalo's sideline pretty hard towards New England sideline, and Jonnu made that amazing kind of catch there, and then they ran some one screen pass, I believe, and one other pass. It's all about the winds, right? I played in 2007. I watched from the sidelines, thankfully, because I was absolutely frozen in my uniform. But we played Chicago Bears, and this is they were terrible that year, and we were really good, but we lost twice. We were 13-3 and lost twice to the Bears that year, 2007. One of them was late in the season, and it was like 30. AJ remembers this. It was like 30-mile-an-hour winds, gusting to 55 miles an hour, and it was like minus 30. And I tell a story. One of the most amazing passes I ever saw was Farby was throwing a check down at Tony Fisher on the right flat, and he threw a ball that went up and over Tony's head. I mean, it would have been a ball that, it's a common, 1 foot in front of the numbers ball to the halfback. It goes over Tony's head, and Peanut Tillman's on the other side. And it's a sure interception. And it's like a Phil Necro, the greatest knuckleball of all time. I don't think Peanut even came close to touching the ball. And it was a couple yards from him. That's how bad the wind was blowing all over the place. We couldn't get a punt off, and they blocked the punt, and it was a wild game. They obviously handled the cold that day a little bit better than we did. But, it'd be like one of those things where the wind was blowing from our sideline to their sideline. Every time, like third down and fourth down, like punt, guys are throwing off their jackets. All these jackets are going on the field, 20 yards from the field. And, you got Red Batty scrambling out there trying to pick up all the jackets and everything. And it was, that was a rough game. We still tried to throw it. They tried to throw it a little bit, but that came down to like special teams. And as last night it did as well. If the Buffalo kicker, and look, I'm not saying it has an easy kick, but if he makes that kick, then they only got to get a field goal there on that last drive. But, I mean, that was I enjoy watching the Manning cast. Those guys do a really good job. They're pretty damn hilarious, aren't they?
Yeah, well, Letterman stinks, but everybody else was great. And that's a shame because I loved Letterman for a long time until he said he's got to ban the punt. And it's funny you mentioned, so to hell with him, because naturally I have to feel that way, even though he was good at what he did for a long time, entrepreneur, trailblazer. Fuck off, Dave. But anyways, let's keep Talib was amazing. Joe Buck was wide open, even, alluded to a future divorce he might have. I mean, I agree. I enjoyed it a lot, especially with Peyton, Eli, the way they talk. I love the Monday Night Manning cast. I'm happy you do as well. I was thinking about Tyler Big Ball Bass going out there to kick that ball. The mental demons had to be there was no way he had any belief he was going to make it. Now, he could have. Nick Folk, who made a kick earlier, I assume the mental demons were tough there as well. Does that happen for a quarterback? Do you have to just fight those? Like when it gets, some things happen or there's a little bit of adversity maybe. Is there any demons that potentially get in there and you just have to battle against quickly?
I'm not really like that. I mean, because I think in order for him to make that kick, he had to start outside the upright.
Yeah.
And that's just mentally, that's really tough. I mean, I think there's times where you battle the uncertainty of whether guys are blitzing or not, or whether throws are high percenters or not, and you have a split second to figure that thing out. There are things when the wind really gets gusting in Lambeau, you have to throw certain balls more inside or outside than you'd normally like to, but it comes down to a guessing game, and you're trying to, just put the ball in a good spot. I was impressed by Josh last night. I thought, he had a ball to Stephon there. I just don't think Stephon realized where the ball was. It could have been a touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how much that ball was moving. I mean, he must have thrown that ball probably, I would guess, 5 to 10 yards inside. even with a cutting through the wind spiral. But I mean, the ball hit Stefan in the shoulder. It was that was a pretty amazing throw he had last night.
Can you remember a game, whatever, I guess college or the NFL, where you had your least amount of passing attempts? And would you be okay if you only threw the ball 3 times in a game?
Well, I don't think that would be necessary. There's look, there's we played in a lot of inclement weather. We played in pouring down rain. We played in dumping snow. We played in some really bad wind games. And there's little adjustments to the plan that you can make, and you realize what throws are your higher percentage throws. I still think you can run screen passes. You can run solutions. You can run keepers. I think you have to take some shots down the field, regardless of how bad the wind is. You have to find a way to keep them honest, even if you're throwing an incompletion. Because kind of like Ebe said last night on the telecast about jumping routes and wanting safety help, they try to throw a couple 9 stops, a couple go stops last night, and the corner's just sitting on it because they said you're not going to throw the ball past 20 yards down the field. I think in that situation you probably have to. Now, Patriots had, I think, 48 plays, and they ran at 45 of them. They had a lot of success. They ran a toss sweep on 3rd and 5, and the guy went 65, 70 for a touchdown. So there wasn't a whole lot they needed to change at all. But I do think that there's still a way to get some high percentage attempts in inclement weather, and we've been able to do that. I don't know about my least amount of throws ever. I would say I'd probably go back to high school, to be honest. I think in the NFL, in games that I finished, I don't know that I've thrown under, my first start ever, I think I threw it 19 times, maybe. No, I think I did it 22 times. But probably not too many
100 years ago.
Below 20. Probably not too many below 20 if I finish the game, or maybe any.
That's a broken toe, full COVID diagnosis from Dr. Joe Rogan in about 200 games ago. And you're like, I think I threw it 22 times, actually. I mean, it's absurd. Let's talk about, you talk about the Monday Night Manning cast. There was a couple earlier games where it's like 3rd and 1. And I think Peyton was like, oh, this is when you take the deep shot, because nobody thinks that you're going to be doing the deep shot. If you're not running for it, this is when you take advantage of that thing. And I think watching you play, there's going to be a couple times where you just almost say, fuck it, and throw it to either MVS or Devontae. That is something you think like, hey, we have to keep them honest with deep shots. And you said even if it's an incompletion. Is there sometimes you throw it deep where it's like, this is just setting up for later. We have to keep this person honest, even though you know it's not going to be a completion?
Or maybe hoping for a PI call?
PI, yeah, maybe.
Like, I don't think you ever throw a ball thinking it's going to be an incompletion unless you got 3 seconds on the clock in the 4th quarter and you're, throwing the ball away on 4th down to end the game. There's always that hope that you guys are going to come down with it. I just think that, Mike and I, when we used to talk about games, back when, a decade ago or so, we always talked about wanting to take one deep shot every quarter. Whether that was a go route or a post or a hard play action corner post or something. We wanted to make sure the defense respected the speed we had on the field and our willingness to take shots down the field. So I think it's always important to at least dial up those plays. It doesn't mean you got to throw them every time, but I don't think there's really any balls, unless I'm throwing the ball away, that I think this one's not going to be caught.